Are you earning an honest living? Are your bills paid? You're doing all right, brother. We're going live. We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Good morning, guys. It's hump day. How the hell are you this morning? Let's not beat around the bush, because not long after I'm done streaming, I have to log into my day job that shall not be named. Yes, I have a day job and it pays extremely well. Actually pays pretty goddamn good. Okay. You know how people in the sphere always talk about how you got to make at least six figures? Oh, well, I do at a normal job. Okay. Which is the topic today. You see, I recently interviewed a guy who was a former member of Rich Cooper's 1% Generals until Rich kicked him out of his group for some stupid reason. And the guy told me that, he's like, Rich is really big on the message that if you aren't an entrepreneur, that you're a loser, right? If you have a job, job's an acronym. It stands for just over broke, right? So I just want to get this out of the way too. Like, this episode isn't to bag on Rich either, right? In fact, I like Rich. I've read his book, The Unplugged Alpha, twice. Great book. Highly recommend it. And, he was even on my show once. All right. But my man who got kicked out of the group really bought into that message. He really bought into that message that if he's working for someone else, he's a loser, right? And so because he really bought into that message, he quit working to pursue some, random business idea that didn't quite pan out. And he said, like, after a while, like he had a runway of money that he was operating off of. He's like, after a couple of years, he's like, that money dried up. It dried up. And he's like, I got bills to pay and stuff like that. Right. So he had to go and get a job again. Now he's working, a normal 9-to-5 job. He actually is making $300,000 a year, right? I think it's some kind of sales related job. If you work in sales, basically you can write your own paycheck if you're good enough, right? And so dude's working for other people, making $300,000 a year. That's, for a lot of people, retarded money, right? That's a lot of money. But he's working for someone else. Does that make him a loser? No. Plus, my man lives in Mexico. He lives in Mexico City. So cost of living down there is dirt cheap. He's basically living like a drug lord down there. Right? Oh, look at this. I have the Rule Zero hashtag up. I need to fix that. There we go. That's better. We're not Rule Zero today. So anyway, he lives in Mexico on $300,000 a year. That, like, living in America on $300,000 a year is, you're doing pretty goddamn good, right? But he works for someone else. He's not a loser, okay? But that kind of message about how you have to be an entrepreneur, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. You hear it from guys like Tate and Waller too, right? And most of the time, it's to sell you access to their community under the pretense that if you just hang out in their groups, that they'll make you rich through osmosis or something, right? It doesn't work like that. I think the last time I looked at Rich's program, I think his base program is like $1,000 a month. I might be wrong, okay? But it's like, can you imagine you want to join this men's group and it's $1,000 a month? Beer club's only $10 a month. I'm not charging enough. Just kidding. But I'm not trying to sell that lifestyle either, right? I'm not trying to sell that stupid lifestyle. In fact, if you looked at me and my Waffle House hat and my Dusty Road shirt, the son of a plumber, right? You would be like, oh, Paul doesn't make six figures. But it's like, I'm a normal dude, it's stupid. It's a lot of that times they're packaging an image. You know what I mean? And they're selling an image, and that's what they're, that's how they're making their money. Okay. It's stupid. It can be very damaging for men for several reasons. So we'll get into all of that today. Guys, before we get too far into this, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. And please do sound off in the live chat. That helps these go by much smoother. We already have a bunch of people in the live chat because I was edging their algorithm a little bit. But sound off because that helps these go by much smoother. And please don't be stingy on the super chats, guys. Okay, how am I supposed to get a Lambo if you guys don't send super chats? Okay, think of this as as charity case for my Lambo. All right, I'm just playing around. So I was looking this up while I'm writing the show notes. Right, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, 20% of new businesses fail during the first 2 years of being open. 20%. Okay. 45% fail during the first 5 years. Okay. 65% fail during the first 10 years. All right. Only 25% of businesses make it to the 15-year mark or more. Only 25%. Okay. So when they're saying, hey, you've got to be an entrepreneur, a lot of the times they're setting most people up for failure. They're setting most people up for failure, right? Now, am I saying you shouldn't try to be an entrepreneur because of these statistics? Absolutely not. In fact, I normally think that statistics are bogus, right? I hate statistics. A statistic I absolutely hate is the one like about dating apps, right? Like people like to point out dating app statistics from like 10, 15 years ago from OkCupid. Oh, like all these chicks, blah, blah, blah. And the dating apps just don't work because, even, fat chicks get a inflated ego and stuff like that. It's like, none of that is helping you. None of that kind of negative self-talk is helping you because all you're doing is figuring out why you can't do something. You know what I mean? Instead of thinking about why you can do something. Okay. So I don't like these statistics because basically it's feeding that negativity bias that we all have. Right. And it's not going to help you. Okay. So if you do have a dream of being an entrepreneur, don't let that stop you. Okay. If you got enough drive, you can do it. All right. If you truly have a vision in your mind, you can make it work. Like just watch my series on a science of getting rich. Okay. But all I'm saying here is that being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone. Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone, and that's okay. All right. Not everyone is cut out for it. Okay. See, we got a whole bunch of people in the chat right now. Brother Nathan says, happy hump day. The course is amazing. Yes. Thank you. Nurse Chick in the house. She says, good morning, chat. Let's see here. What we got here? We've got, Brother Nathan got a $2 super chat. We are at the 8-minute mark, so we will give him this one.
I was just going to say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. Let's see here. Was that wear a skin tight black t-shirt and you won't be a loser? Is that what it is? Oh man. Brother Nathan or brother Ed said, no losers at beer club, $5 super chat. He gets this.
Shame this horse.
Yes. Shame these whores that tell us that we have to be entrepreneurs. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Omega says, I had to withdraw myself from the dating apps, which is temporary. So I start focusing on my energy, on myself, and sculpting my body. Okay. That's not a bad idea, but just remember that if you're trying to work out and you're waiting until you have like 6-pack abs to talk to chicks, that when you have the 6-pack abs, you're still not going to know how to talk to chicks because you haven't practiced. Okay. So don't, let that hold you back is all I'm saying. Okay. And guys, yes, thank you, Stream Elements. Please do take my new dating course with 25% off until Friday. Friday, the code is only good until Friday, guys. Okay. Thank you, Stream Elements. Keeping it real. All right. The next idea here is you are going to work your fucking ass off. Okay. If you are an entrepreneur, you are not going to work less. You are going to work more. All right. according to Zippia.com, I found an article last night, Zippia.com, most entrepreneurs work more than 50 hours a week, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur so I can just, be rich and live in my McMansion and have people do work for me. That's not how it works for most people. For most people, that's not how it works. Okay. That's not how it works. Now, this makes sense if you think about it, right? Because if you're an entrepreneur, you have a lot riding on the business. Okay. You have a lot riding on this business. Successful entrepreneurs don't quit at the end of the workday. They quit when the work is done, right? They quit when the work is done. That's why a ton of businesses around here in the area I live in, right, out in cow country out here, we have a word for I have a word for people out here, and I got it from this lady. She ran an auto mechanic shop. Well, her husband owned the mechanic shop. She just worked there, but they came from Denver, right? If you come from, it seems like if you come from anywhere else, any kind of bigger city, and then you come out here to like Delta County, Colorado, your mind's going to be blown at just how slow people operate around here and just how they have no drive or ambition out here. I call them deltoids, right? We call them deltoids. That I got it from that lady at the shop. It's just like you're like the customer service is just non-existent. People just, they don't want to do a good job out here. They're lazy as hell out here. And you're like, what is going on? Like just basic customer service doesn't exist in a lot of places out here, right? And it's funny because a lot of these same people, they'll start a business out here. Okay. And those businesses always fail within like two years, right? They always fail because a lot of the owners out here, they have stupid hours, right? They're like, I'll open today, right? I'm not going to be open on a Sunday, right? Like a lot of, there was a business out here. It was called Scramblers. They had the best damn breakfast in Cedar Edge, Colorado, right? For a long time. They weren't open on Sunday mornings for Jesus. I'm like, that's going to be your mad rush day though. Like everyone after church wants to go to the diner for breakfast and you're closed on that day. Like, are you retarded? Right. So anyway, they went out of business. But a lot of businesses out here, they fail, right? Basically, they're lazy, and so people stop showing up, right? When customers stop showing up, your business fails, right? But look at like successful people. Look at the WWE, okay? I like this example, right? Vince McMahon, despite recent allegations, he's famous for only sleeping for like 3 or 4 hours a night, right? Otherwise, he's working, and I consider that also his gym time is also working for him because he's got to maintain an image. But I've heard stories that at 2 a.m, he's going to the hotel gym and getting a set in at 2 a.m. after TV tapings and stuff like that, and then he sleeps for like 2 hours and he's up again the next day, like back at it immediately. Going into meetings and all this kind of stuff. It's like that's crazy. That's crazy, right? But you know who else does that? The Rock, right? The Rock owns $7 Productions. He's technically now working for somebody, right? He's on the board of directors for TKO. He's back at WWE. I think a lot of that has to do with like the writer strikes and stuff in Hollywood, but still, he's back with the old home team. But he owns $7 Productions. He also, and his main companies also own some was it Mana Tequila and stuff like that. Like The Rock owns numerous businesses now. He's a multi-billionaire himself. He only sleeps like 3 hours a day. The rest of the time he's working, right? He's working on something. You know what I mean? Triple H in WWE, same kind of thing, but technically Triple H never went off, became an entrepreneur. He technically has a day job, doesn't he? He works for WWE. The podcast, my podcast is my personal business. It's not a hobby. I am a professional podcaster. Ask Nurse Chick, who's in the, what'd she say, codger time for, Nurse Chick. She's a hospice nurse in this area. She takes care of all the old people around here. But as Nurse Chick, right? I am always working. I am working constantly, right? I would venture to say I'm one of the hardest working guys in the fucking manosphere. All right. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's just that I'm trying to build this brand and it takes a lot of fucking work, right? Do you see how much fucking content I produce? Do you guys see that? I posted Facebook like once a week gives you like an update on how you're doing, right? And so yesterday I looked, I posted 1,000 pieces of content within this last week, 1,000 pieces of content, right? It's basically 18 to 20 hours I'm working on this shit, right? Whether it's producing the podcast, sitting down, writing out show notes for these episodes, cutting clips for these episodes, posting memes, right? Interacting with people in the comments, interacting with my boys in the beer club, working with my clients. I have like client calls all week this week, right? Like I'm fucking grinding on this business, okay? Why? Because I want this show to be self-sustaining, right? So I'm working my fucking ass off, all right? And on top of that, I also have a day job for now, right? Now, some people, they just want a work-life balance, okay? And that's okay. Like, who wants to work 24/7? Most people don't want to be like Vince McMahon and work, 20 hours a day and sleep 4, right? Most people don't. Okay. And most 9-to-5 jobs offer more of a work-life balance than you would have if you were an entrepreneur. Okay. It's not bad. All right, guys. Where are we at here? I got to come up here. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I am posting 1,000 pieces of content every week. So do that. Follow me on all the socials. Right now, Facebook's growing. I posted a meme that went absolutely viral. It's got like 30,000 likes on it or whatever. It's crazy. Which is funny. So it's weird. It's weird just watching the algorithms and how they work and what they respond to. Like a year ago, Instagram and or maybe it was a year or two ago, like Instagram and Facebook were really pushing reels, right? They were trying to compete with TikTok. And now they're back to pushing memes. It's weird. That's why I'm posting a lot of memes lately. Anyway, just fun fact. And guys, get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. You'll get 20 dating app openers. You get a free chapter of my book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. You also get free stickers. If you don't want the stickers, just put "don't want stickers" in the address field, and I won't waste a stamp on you. Okay. Speaking of the book, get the book. You can get it on Amazon at books.comeonmanpod.com. It's available in all formats, including Kindle and Audible, right? You can get it on Audible as an audiobook. Most people like the audio version. And guys, I have some autographed copies available. I'll drop the link here in the chat. If you guys want an autographed copy, right? It's the same price as Amazon, especially if you live in the United States. Same price as Amazon. Just order it through me. I'll sign it for you. I'll get it in the mail next morning usually. So links in the chat for that if you guys want an autographed copy. And then what else we got here? Guys, check out my new dating course. If you go to dates.comeonmanpod.com, you can access my course. Now, the course, I'm calling it No Cold Approach in the Cow Pasture. Okay. So it's aimed at country boys, right? Guys that live out in flyover country. The thing is, though, I'm teaching you guys how to optimize your online dating profiles on dating apps, but I'm also teaching you how to use Facebook. I'm talking about Facebook proper, not Facebook dating, and Instagram to meet local chicks in your area. Because while not every hot chick is on a dating app, all chicks are on social media. Okay. So oftentimes finding chicks on social media is better because it's like Amazon shopping for chicks. Okay. So you'll have a much better selection doing that. A lot of guys don't even know that that's an option. So I teach you how to do that in the course. Let me play a commercial for that. I made this AI commercial yesterday, guys. I used AI to make this commercial. Let me know what you think after it plays.
Ready to upgrade your dating game? Introducing Paul's ultimate online dating course for men. Master the art of online dating and discover Paul's genius method to meet amazing women off the apps. The real secret sauce? Discover how to leverage Facebook and Instagram to meet amazing women in your local area. Not all hot women are on dating apps, but every woman on the planet is on social media. Learn how to find and connect with them with this revolutionary course. Say goodbye to swipe fatigue and hello to meaningful connections. Ready to transform your dating life? Click the link in the description now and start your journey to success today.
See, I decided to make that ad like that because my original ad was really geared towards country boys, right? Because it's called No Cold Approach in the Cow Pasture. And I had a guy in my beer club go, well, I can't take your course. I don't live out in the country. It's like, dude, if you live in a city, the stuff I teach in the course is going to be even better for you because you have way more options in a city. Okay. And the chicks are like closer. You don't have to drive an hour to these chicks, but you can, the methods are the same. Okay. So I made that's a little more, I would say geography neutral. That's a geography neutral commercial, but check out the course. Okay. If you guys use the link that's in the chat right now, or if you go to dates.comeonmanpod.com and use code countryboy25, you can save 25% until Friday. After Friday, there's no more discounts. Okay. No more discounts after Friday. So get it now while it's on discount. All right. All right. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about having a job. Now let's talk about entry-level jobs for a minute. All right. Let's talk about entry-level jobs. Remember, like years ago, they were talking about, oh, it's time to raise minimum wage and all this stuff because people just can't make it because minimum wage just doesn't pay the bills anymore and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I'm on the side of minimum wage jobs were never meant to be a career, right? Those are meant to be stepping stones to get to the next level. Okay. Like those jobs, in my opinion, are for like teenagers, like guys just out of high school, guys that are going through college and stuff like that, guys that are, working through a trade school of some kind, right? It's not meant to be a career. So I think minimum wage shouldn't have gone up, right? And now you see a lot of jobs being replaced by kiosks and self-checkout and stuff like that because it's cheaper to buy a bunch of machines and then not hire the people at the higher minimum wage, right? But that does open up jobs for people that repair those machines. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. People are like, oh, they're replacing people's jobs now. It's like, well, yeah, what do you expect? You require these employers to raise their how much they're paying people. Like, of course, they're not going to let that interfere with their profit margins. So they're going to fire the people and replace them with machines, right? But it does open up a new career field of people that have to repair those machines. So it all works out in the end. But yeah, let's talk about entry level jobs for a minute, because I need to make this distinction. By entry level, I mean, wage jobs like McDonald's, grocery store clerk, right? Anything in retail, right? If you're in your teens or early 20s, you are not a loser if you work for these jobs. Okay. You're not a loser. Okay. In fact, at your age, I have a whole chapter in my book. On how, if you invest wisely, you could still end up a millionaire. Okay. Especially if you start at 18, right? If you start at 18, putting away 10 to 15% of every paycheck, you'll be a millionaire by the time you're like my age or in your 50s, right? But you really should be working on getting some kind of skill though, right? So that you don't stay in that kind of job the rest of your life. That's my personal opinion, right? That could be, and when I say skill, like that could be, you can go to some college, you can go to a trade school, you can self-study and work on certifications. Okay. There's a bunch of different options for you to get these skills. All right. If you are in your 30s or 40s and still working at these kinds of jobs and still making less than the average income in the US, then yeah, brother, you are a little bit of a loser. I hate to break it to you. Okay. Hate to break it to you. You clearly have zero ambition or drive for anything better. All right. Paul, you're a dick. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But this is how everyone is going to view you, especially women. All right. Now, guys think that women only care about money, right? That's not necessarily true. It's the traits of men who tend to acquire money, the traits that they have that women find attractive. Okay. Stuff like drive, ambition, decisiveness, assertiveness, the ability to lead. Women dig those traits. Okay. And money just happens to go with those traits more often than not. Okay. It's not the money per se. It's those qualities that they find attractive. Okay. So if you don't have any of those things and you're still working a shitty, retail job, you need to, I don't know, someone needs to light a fire under your ass. Okay. I suggest you find some drive and ambition somewhere if your life isn't going the way you want it to go. Okay. And acquire some kind of skills to level up if you're in this position. Now, a caveat to this, if you're working your way up to McDonald's manager, okay, you could actually, I looked this up, you could be making $93,445 a year, according to Glassdoor. You could actually be making more than the average person if you are working your way up to McDonald's manager. If you work at, say, Buffalo Wild Wings, shout out to my boy out there. He knows who he is. If you're working at Buffalo Wild Wings and you work your way up to manager, you could be making $93,438 a year, according to Glassdoor. Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay. Now, I would say that if you work your way up into one of those positions, that you do have some kind of drive and ambition, right? You're not trying to stay as a waitress. You're not trying to stay as a fry cook or whatever, right? You have some kind of drive and ambition, and you're going to be making more than the average person. So you're not a loser if you're working your way up in those positions. Okay. Guys, I'm going to get a lot of hate for that because there's a lot of people that work at restaurants that are like, fuck you, man. I do pretty good. I make a shitload of money in tips and stuff. Like, okay. Guys, join the beer club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a good group of dudes. Very active Telegram community. We had a very interesting chat last night. Won't get into that because what goes in beer club stays in beer club, but we definitely have a very active group. The next official meetup is on the 15th. A couple of the guys in the group have offered to host more meetups though. So we actually might be having more than once a month. It's just that I can only set aside enough time to host one a month at this point, because like I said before, working my fucking ass off for this podcast. So having to take multiple days off to do beer club chats and just sit around drinking with the boys is not as productive for me as I'd like it to be. But the guys are finding a lot of value in it. So the guys are like, okay, well, we'll host it. Oh, cool, man. All right, cool. So anyway, we're going to be hosting the next meetup on the 15th, or I'm going to be hosting the next meetup on the 15th. And we do that over Telegram as well. Like Telegram's sort of like chat, like text on steroids. You can do a lot with it, including apparently group video calls. So we're going to be doing that. It's just a good place for guys to get around and swap notes and talk about guy stuff and, get things off your chest. It doesn't cost $1,100 a month. It's only $10 a month, and you can join with a free trial. So check that out at beer.comeonmanpod.com. And then guys, if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, coaching's available at gumroad.comeonmanpod.com. All right. Now, man, this might be a short episode. Yeah, we're going to make it past the 30-minute mark. That's all that matters. Okay. So according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the national average salary in 2022 was $61,900. That was the national average. Okay. And that's actually way up from the last statistic I saw, which was something around 35,000. I thought like the mean was like 35,000, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's much higher than that. So if you make around that much, if you make around $60,000, you're average, man. You're probably doing all right. If you're smart with your money, if you're smart with your money, you could easily live off $60,000 a year. It's actually, so that's actually double than someone making minimum wage, right? I think like what's minimum wage now in most places? What, like $15 an hour? I think out in Colorado we haven't reached $15 an hour yet. It's still like $14, maybe $13, $14 out here. I'm not sure, but that's it. Let's say it's $15 an hour. That's roughly ballpark $30,000 a year, right? So if you're making $60,000 a year, that's twice. That's double. That's double minimum wage. You're doing okay. Let's look at some jobs that pay more than that. Okay, these are all from Indeed.com. All right, if you're a truck driver, we got one of our brothers in Beer Club. He's a truck driver. The national average of truck drivers is $69,074. $69,000 a year. So that's better than average. A lot of truckers I know make way more than that though, right? They're making upwards of $80,000 or $90,000 a year as a truck driver, right? I guess it also depends on what you're hauling and you know, if you're local or if you're going cross country. There's a bunch of variables there, but you can make more than that. The national average for a police sergeant is $69,204. That's the national average for a police sergeant. That's not enough, man. Like if you're a cop, man, I used to want to be a cop. Fun fact. I used to want to be a cop. When I got out of the Navy, I used to think I wanted to be a cop. And I was working, my first job out of the Navy was a security guard job. So I was working as a security guard. I bought the police exam study guide. You know, I went to like Barnes and Noble and got a police exam study guide, and I was studying for the police exams. And I actually went and applied for a couple of the police departments in the area. I applied for San Diego PD, La Mesa PD, California Highway Patrol, and I think even El Cajon Police Department maybe. And the thing was, like, when I was first doing that, I was still in the Navy and I was transitioning out of the Navy. And so my command, they would only let me go to, they made me pick one. They're like, just pick one. We're only going to let you apply for one and like take time to go and take tests for one, right? They wouldn't let me go to every one, right? They were being dicks about it. So I went and went all in on the California Highway Patrol. And I actually made it pretty far in their interview process. But man, like the San Diego PD at that time was only starting at like $45,000 a year, right? And I'm like, San Diego is close to the border, so you're dealing with like cartels and stuff like that, and you're only making $45,000 a year, man. That's not worth taking a bullet over. But it's better than the national average, right? Yeah, cops should be making at least $100,000 a year. Why do you think they take bribes and stuff? Yeah. Good morning, Glenn. What's up? What's up, brother? Ed says it's 16 in California. Come April, it's 20 a month for fast food workers. You mean $20 an hour for fast food workers? Jesus Christ, $20? Dude, everyone's getting replaced by kiosks in California. I swear to God. Oh, stop, Glenn, stop it. Anyway, the next job is distribution manager, $71,244. Right, so you could be making more than the average. Radiation therapist. This is a skilled job. Like you have to go to like some kind of local school to become a radiation tech or a radiation therapist. 74,683 is the national average. Okay. HVAC supervisor, $77,000 for an HVAC supervisor. Right? There's burger flipping robots, right? Like everything's going to be automated. Everything's going to be automated when they raise wages that much. And then people are going to be like, "Whoa, what am I going to do? I can't get a job now." Yeah, man. That's what happens. Systems administrator says here $80,600. I put at least on there because when I first became a systems administrator. Actually, entry level, going from help desk desktop support to systems administrator. I think the job I was at only started me at like 65, I think. So, and that was years ago though. So 65, but then I left that company and immediately started making $80,000 a year, because a lot of times, especially in IT, I talk about in my book, right? A lot of times, if you want to move up quickly on the pay scale, you got to move out, right? And so I immediately gave myself like a $20,000 a year raise just by leaving that company and going somewhere else, right? And then after that, I left that company, and I think I started making like $102,000 a year when I left that company, right? It was like you move up quicker when you move out, right? But a systems administrator can at least be making $80,000 a year, and you don't even have to go to college for that. You can go and get a bunch of certifications. Certifications are like 200, $300 each. You can self-study for that, okay? You don't have to go to school for that, okay? You just got to learn how to read a fucking book and take some tests. You know what I mean? So just by doing that, you could be making way more than you're making now. All right. Railroad conductor, $89,923 national average. Now you're gone a lot. You're gone a lot typically if you're on the railroad, but maybe you like that. Maybe you like traveling, maybe you like that sort of thing. Financial advisor, 94,170 is the national average. The problem wouldn't be them. The problem wouldn't be them raising the wages if women weren't in the workforce. Can't put the toothpaste back in that tube, unfortunately. All right, now let's look at some jobs that pay six figures. Okay, because remember, we all got to be 6-figure chads with 6-pack abs and 6 feet tall, and have at least a 6-inch dick, right? So I don't know about all that other stuff, but let's look at some 6-figure jobs. Okay, 9 to 5 jobs that pay 6 figures. Information technology manager, it says 103,861 at least. And like I said before, I was a systems administrator making that much. You know what I mean? So, like, the longer you stay in IT and the further up you go, you become a manager, you become a director, stuff like that, the more money you can make. Okay. Coders, right? Guys who actually are software developers, they have a potential to make even more money than that. You know what I mean? I know some software developers that are making retarded money. And software developers, like, while they're working their 9 to 5 job, making, I don't know, 160, 180, $200,000 a year as a software developer. They can also, as a side hustle, be working on like a killer app of some kind, or some kind of like, Google Play or Apple phone app or whatever, and then sell it for millions. A lot of coders end up becoming millionaires because they come up with like a killer app and they sell it to a bigger company. In fact, one of the companies that my company acquired, it was started by 3 guys, right? 3 guys. There was the tech guy who did he basically built it out, and he built out this application on 3 servers, or no, 2 servers. He had a web server and a database server on the back end. Like, that was it, right? And then they had a sales guy. The sales guy went around and sold it to all these like high-end clients, right? Like banks, right? Banks sold this product for like, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And they would charge by like transaction or something like that. And so this guy who started it, this is what he does. He comes up with these ideas, these business ideas. He hires just a couple of guys to build it for him. And then they build it up, they sell it, they do all this stuff, and then he turns around and sells it to bigger companies. And then they just do that on rinse, wash, repeat, right? Like, when I was talking to the tech guy, because we had to bring in their business and bring it into our infrastructure. Like, they had me fly out to San Diego to come and look at how hard it would be to move it into our environment. And so when he laid it out, I was like, wait a second, you're talking about, you do all this on 2 servers. And so my boss is like, how hard is it going to bring in the network? I'm like, dude, we could do it in a day. Like, that's ridiculous. 2 servers. That's all they have. Like, we could do this overnight. Right. This is like the simplest setup I've ever seen in my life. right? Now, they definitely took some shortcuts with it, but we won't, that's neither here nor there. We had to fix a lot of stuff with it, but that's what they do. And this was like their fourth company that they did that on. And basically the way the guy the guy who had the idea that comes up with these ideas and he has people build it out and then he sells it. He basically makes these guys like partners, right? So this guy and his tech guy that builds out all these applications, this was like their third company that they did this with, right? They built this out and then they turned around and sold it. They ended up making like millions of dollars and then they split it, you know. And I think the guy, the brainchild guy, you know, I think he takes like 70% of it or 75%, and then he splits the other 25% between the other two guys, right? But that's still 25% of millions of dollars is a pretty good chunk of change. You know what I mean? So you could do that, right? If you're a smart, savvy tech guy and you can build stuff out, you can hitch your cart to, you know, a guy that comes up with business ideas like this and makes millions. That guy also, I think, did a little coke on the side, but that's neither here nor there. It was funny going into meetings with that guy. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. Product managers, 106,680 at least. Nurse practitioner, 117,188 at least. Nurse chick is going back to school to become a nurse practitioner. And my goal with this is to have her be my sugar mama. Okay. I have a plan here. I have a five-year plan of having nurse chick become my sugar mama. So she's going to be a nurse practitioner here. Actually, she was looking at it. She can make actually more than that. She can make way more than that out here as a nurse practitioner. I think she was saying something like $200,000 a year. I think it really depends on what she does and where she practices, but she can make way more than that. A corporate attorney, guys, get this. How much do you think? Drop it in the chat. How much do you think a corporate attorney makes? Let me know. Nathan says drugs pay well. Yes, Nathan's a professional drug dealer. He works for pharmaceutical companies. Yes, John says, good morning, my local drug dealer, Nathan. Guys, corporate attorney. How much do you think a corporate attorney makes? A guy who does like contract law and stuff like that. Works for works for a company. He doesn't work for like a law firm. He's not a criminal attorney. How much do you think he makes? Okay, Nathan says 180. 180. Okay. National average 139. Actually less than that. Oh, X-Runner said 300,000. Nah, man. 139,880. You know what's funny? When I was a network manager, right? That was a network and systems manager, I think it was my title. Somehow, some guy at the company managed to find a spreadsheet that had literally everybody's salaries in the company on it. And he was like, oh, look at what these execs make. Right. And he sent it. And I was like, where'd you find that? Right. Cause that kind of information shouldn't be available. Right. But the HR department put it in a place where they shouldn't have put it. And it was like in an unsecured folder. And this guy found it. And I was like, oh my God. And so I looked at it, and the corporate attorney for the company at that time was only making $120,000 a year, and I was making pretty close to that as a network manager. And I was like, this guy's an attorney, and he's not making much more than me. That's crazy, right? That's craziness. Let's look at jobs that have the potential of making well over $150,000 a year, right? So corporate attorney was 139. So let's look at jobs that have the potential of making over $150,000 a year. Okay. Construction sales upwards of $250,000 a year doing construction sales. Let's see here. What is this? I rob banks for a living. Purple teamer at a bank. Okay. What? Oh, yes. John Egan. He's a truck driver for Walmart. Yeah. They get, I think John makes pretty good money doing that. Let's see here. Construction sales upwards $250,000 a year. Pretty much any kind of medical doctor, at least $200,000 a year. You know what's funny though? I looked up when I was looking up these different figures. The national average for a veterinarian was only like $129,000 a year for a veterinarian, which is funny. So veterinarians don't make as much as people doctors apparently, but it looked like all the medical doctors, they were all making at least $200,000 a year. And a lot of those doctors are working for other people, right? They work for big hospitals. Sometimes they work for private practices. Sometimes they're partners in their own private practice, and those guys make pretty good money and stuff like that. But it's at least $200,000 a year, right? Software as a service account executive, upwards of $250,000 a year. Basically sales, right? I don't know if you guys could hear that. My dog's shaking her collar. You're supposed to be a professional podcaster. What are you doing? Real estate sales manager, upwards of $200,000 a year. You can make a lot of money in sales if you're good at it. It's just sales is difficult. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable selling people, right? Power lineman, guys, power lineman. I did an episode with RP Thor, and power linemen actually, they can make upwards of $200,000 a year. And Thor has a whole course on it. I'll drop a link to it in the chat here. But depending on where you start out, you eventually could make upwards of $200,000 a year. If you're interested, check out the course. I dropped a link for that in the chat. But the thing here is, it's hard fucking work and it's dangerous work. That's why they pay so well. And if you work, you have a lot of opportunity for overtime and double time and, emergency stipends and stuff like that, right? Like if there's a forest fire, they'll fly out power linemen because a lot of the power lines are ran through national forest, right? So how do they get out there? On helicopters and stuff. And then you got to go work on power lines on the top of a mountain somewhere in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? You're dealing with like hundreds of thousands of volts of electricity and stuff like that. That's very dangerous work. So they pay you well. You understand? So Thor has a course. It's very affordable. If you guys want to check that out, if you're looking into maybe getting into that kind of work, you can make up to $200,000 a year doing it, right? So check that out. So the big point here, guys, the point here is that you could be that six-figure guy, live comfortably, and still do it with a 9-to-5 job. All right. And if that's the route you want to go, you're anything but a loser. All right. You can make way more money, can you make way more money as an entrepreneur? Potentially, but not necessarily. Okay. It really depends on what kind of work you get into. Okay. According to Indeed, the average base salary of an entrepreneur is only $87,736. So you with your 9-to-5, some of you are actually making more, right? Going back to McDonald's manager, you could be making $93,000 a year as the manager for a McDonald's, right? Well, the average entrepreneur is only making $87,000. You could actually be making more as a McDonald's manager. Okay. I mean, you could become a franchise owner. Franchise owner probably makes more than that, but a lot of those guys, they fail when they hire the wrong people. So you got to, there's a lot of caveats to this stuff. Okay. But something to keep in mind, right? The average entrepreneur is only making $87,000 a year. So a lot of people are making way more than that at their 9-to-5 job. Okay. So you're definitely not a loser. All right, guys. What's that? Yes. Thor's out there fighting Bigfoot. Yeah. Oh, a sergeant in the police in Australia only earns 70,000 US. That's pretty normal though. Honestly, I think I was looking at, so out here, man, they were hiring for police in Cedar Edge, Colorado. The entry level for a police officer in Cedar Edge, Colorado was like $16 an hour. It's just over minimum wage. Like, what? $16 an hour? Are you for real? I don't know, man. Cops definitely don't get paid enough. Speaking of cops in Australia, when I was in the Navy there, I was in Perth, and I was standing watch at the end of a pier, and they had Australian police at the end of the pier with us, helping us stand watch. And a lot of that was because there was a lot of protests going on where they were protesting U.S. Navy ships because they didn't want nuclear powered ships there. There was a bunch of environmentalists or whatever. We weren't even a nuclear powered ship, so it was kind of stupid, but the police were there just to, keep the peace and stuff like that. So I'm standing at guard duty at the end of the pier with these cops. And I happened to notice that one of the police officers had a really cool belt buckle that had like a, Australian police, badge on it. And I was like, oh, that's a cool belt buckle. Did they give those to you? And he goes, oh, here. He just takes his belt buckle off and he goes, here, you can have it. Like, thank you, Australian police officer guy. Like, it was just a cool thing. Like, so I still have that belt buckle. It's a pretty cool belt buckle. But yeah, the police officers in Australia are actually kind of cool, I think. And they're humble because they only make $70,000 a year, apparently. All right, guys, that's all I have. Be sure to tune into the podcast Friday. We're going to talk about how word of mouth is the best form of advertising. And I got this idea because one of the guys who's taking the course right now, one of the guys who's taking my new dating course, he was like, oh, I really like the idea of like the Facebook game and stuff like that. But he's like, I'm worried that in my small area, everyone knows each other. Everyone knows each other. So all these chicks are going to be talking and the word's going to get out that I'm a player and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's actually good for you though. Like chicks talk and they talk up about like how good you are and stuff like that. Like that actually it helps you out because chicks like guys who other chicks like. Right. So I was like, no, that actually is good for you. So he was like, oh, maybe you should do a live stream about that. I'm like, done. So we're doing that Friday. We're going to talk about how word of mouth is the best form of advertising, even on the dating circuit. All right, guys, that's all I have for this episode. Hopefully it helps you out. Hopefully it makes you guys feel better about working a 9-to-5 because you're doing better than most of the entrepreneurs out there. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. Thanks to everybody that sounded off in the comments. I appreciate it. Thanks to you guys that sent super chats. That helps keeps the engine running. It allows me to become an entrepreneur. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers. You get 20 dating app openers and you get a free chapter of my book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. Speaking of the book, you can get it on Amazon in all formats, including Audible and Kindle edition. And then also I have autographed copies in stock. In fact, I just got a new hardcover in stock too. If you guys have been waiting for the hardcovers, I have one in stock. So get that. Definitely check out the new dating course, guys, dates.comeonmanpod.com, and use code countryboy25 at checkout to save 25%. Until Friday. That's what the code expires on Friday, guys. All right, that's all I have. We'll see you guys on Friday's stream.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.